WrestleBuddy Podcast. All about wrestling. Subscribe and follow for more content.
Welcome, WrestleBuddies, to our weekly news roundup. I am joined by my big 20-year-old pal Zane. How we doing, mate?
I'm doing amazing after that recent outtake we had. So, just for the viewers who don't know what happened, we were like 5-6 minutes into the podcast, and Andy starts reading the news roundup from last week. So that's pretty amazing. He also sang "Happy Birthday" to me, which I don't think he's gonna sing again. So, to put this on record, I turned 20 today. Yeah, Andy, you can go ahead.
No, I will wish you an happy birthday, but I'm not singing "Happy Birthday" to you again. You only had that was a one and gone shot, mate. Unfortunately, but. Yeah, we did have a good week of wrestling this week. It was very quiet in terms of news, wasn't it? Wasn't a lot going on. I know, as we said before, the biggest newsworthy was probably Tony Khan trying to take shots at WWE, saying because they're going head-to-head for the half an hour. And obviously, the news that WWE went head-to-head with AEW shows that they're potentially starting to look at them as a credible threat, I think.
Yeah, I feel like, as you said earlier, that there was a lot of fuel there, a lot of explosives present there, but I don't think that the news got enough buzz at it as it should have, because Smackdown going an extra 30 hours is big news, and they're finally taking AEW as a serious competitor. And that's what brings out the best in both of them, because Tony Khan has openly acknowledged that he sees WWE as competition, but I don't think Vince McMahon's ever going to come on Twitter and say, well, AEW, I see them as competition, and that's the reason why I extended 30 minutes of a show. But that's the most acknowledgement that AEW will get that their competition is that SmackDown is going 30 minutes over, going head-to-head directly with Rampage. So, as you said, a lot of big news, but not enough buzz to it.
No, 100% not. Well, let's get into our weekly roundup anyway. Let's have a look at what we've, the big stories are this week.
Please.
Yeah. I'm not going to swear on this podcast anymore. I'm trying my best not to, because obviously we don't want to upset the algorithms all the time with some swear words, so let's keep it out of there. But
like the algorithms care what you say.
Yeah. Anyway, right. I'm just going to ignore you. This is what happens, Jimmy. Just another little message for Jimmy again. I do not care if your car doesn't work. Get a donkey home. Do not leave me with him again. Thank you. Let's get on with the news. Great One is not returning for Survivor Series. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has not been seen on WWE television in a very long time. Rumours and reports circulating that the Great One is set to face Universal Champion Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38, but that's not true because the new report suggests something else. Uncle Dave, who was the first one that said that he was going to appear at WrestleMania next year, is not appearing in Survivor Series this year, which will be the 25th anniversary of his WWF main promotion televised debut at Survivor Series 1996. It has been talked about for a long time, but it fell through since Johnson had other commitments that has him filming in Australia at the second season of Young Rock on that day, on the day of the show. Because of quarantine regulations, it's going to be impossible to go back and forth. So those involved with the show, including Johnson, will be in Australia from a few weeks from now until late January. Dwayne will be in Australia for his shoot for the second series, so it makes it impossible, yeah. So if we believe in the current rumours and speculation, WWE might be planning to hold this big money match for WrestleMania 39 when Mania is going to take place in Hollywood. So we just have to wait and see how things work out for The Rock and WWE. Me, for one, I'm ecstatic at this because I don't know whether I've told you, and I've told people a million times, I am going to WrestleMania 39. I could have went to Dallas, but I hung my hat on the fact that Hollywood Rock makes more sense. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it does. It actually does. Because let's be fair here. The WrestleMania 2023 is going to be much bigger than the one in Dallas because, well, the biggest thing coming out of Dallas will probably be The Undertaker being inducted into the Hall of Fame, which they'll announce in a bit. But the question that leaves open is, if Rock is not returning for WrestleMania 38 now, then who is going to face Roman at WrestleMania 38? Because Roman's facing Lesnar now, and if it's going to be Lesnar, then how do they wrap up the match against Lesnar at Crown Jewel, because they need to leave an open avenue which they can come back to later and revisit their rivalry at WrestleMania. Or do they go for someone else, someone maybe like Drew McIntyre? What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be Brock again. I don't think Brock wins this match, and I don't think Brock wins the next match. I think Brock is at this stage now where he needs to give back to the business. Don't get me wrong, I know he's done jobs in the past for Drew McIntyre and stuff like that, but we haven't really seen back-to-back losses for Brock Lesnar. I feel like Reigns winning a crown jewel and Reigns winning at Mania would cement Roman's place at the top of the game now. And then also I feel like because you've got the tribe, the feud between Brock Lesnar and Reigns is all about Heyman. Right, it's about Heyman and it's about the title. Now, so there's enough to carry that storyline going into WrestleMania, but also in the meantime, you've got this byproduct of the family bloodline and the tribal chief character, which he could slot back into and start doing more stories with the Usos and whatever else he's got going on there that can keep him busy and also very relevant at the top of the game, while Brock Lesnar does not make his appearances, because as we know, Brock only makes a couple of sporadic appearances throughout the year. So for me, it's an easy one to do, because after Crown Jewel wraps up, you probably leave that alone, then Brock goes into a feud with McIntyre possibly, or someone else, and then at Royal Rumble or around Royal Rumble time, we see the Lesnar Roman Reigns. Way I would do it, if I was going to book this, is I would have Lesnar lose a crown jewel and then win at WrestleMania, win the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
and then that way it sets him up for this
interesting
match.
thought. That's an interesting thought, because I was thinking the exact opposite. I feel like Reigns has held on the title for 412 days at the point of speaking, and I think Heyman's going to turn on Lesnar. And Reigns is then going to win the Rumble. And Reigns will then challenge Lesnar. And then beat Lesnar. Because I'm pretty sure that Reigns is going to be the one who's going to walk out of WrestleMania as a Universal Champion. I just don't think he's going to hold on to the title until then. Because with the title, there are plenty of other feuds, fresh feuds that you can do. You can revisit Lesnar versus Balor. You can do Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for the Universal Championship.
Yeah, but how many appearances between now and WrestleMania is Lesnar going to have?
I feel like he's going to wrestle at the Rumble, and maybe at the. Do they have, because in 2020 they did the Super Showdown in February, right? So I think there's going to be another.
They've got a new pay-per-view.
Yeah, at the beginning of January.
Yeah, day one on the 1st of January, believe it or not.
I feel like maybe he's gonna wrestle on that one, and then Royal Rumble, and then Mania.
But then you've got between now and Royal Rumble or the day one pay-per-view, there's no Universal title. I feel like the best thing is to keep the title on Roman Reigns for now. Also, I feel like WWE, Roman Reigns is the top guy at the moment. He's still got a long time left as well in the business. So would you not want to set a new record for title with Roman Reigns?
Yeah,
and
but
then maybe have him.
Who's there left for him to face that he can lose to? Because he's faced everybody, like Bobby Lashley, probably. McIntyre, he's defeated. It wouldn't be a totally fresh feud. So he's got until Mania to wrestle against people. And
but you could do show like Survivor Series pay-per-view, for instance. It's already set up perfectly for the New Day versus the Bloodline.
Yeah.
Perfect match to have there. There's a couple of other, the Hurt Business versus the Bloodline. You could probably do that a little bit as well and have him fuse with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be somewhat of a quarterly brand shift or something. I really want to see Orton versus Reigns. I really do. That would be a pretty good feud right now at the moment, but they're on different brands.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few you could see there, but I just think I'd keep the title on Reigns. I wouldn't want it to go back, especially I think at the moment with the momentum of AEW. Would you really want to see, would you want to see his champion just being a part-time champion again?
I guess you have a point, but I really want to see Reigns hold on for the title for 500, 600 days. But I don't think WWE might think the same way I am thinking. But then again, you do have a point that with AEW having the momentum, they might not want Lesnar to have the title because they can keep Lesnar away from the title picture, and you don't have to have him show up every week with the title. And you can have Roman having other feuds, and Lesnar can move on to someone else, or possibly win the Universal Royal Rumble and uh, challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
And also, do you not think WWE is wanting to overtake CM Punk's title reign?
You know what? That's a pretty good point. With Punk back, that's a very WWE thing to do. So yeah.
Erase the history, isn't it?
Yeah, but that was with the WWE Championship. I think Lesnar already has crossed 500 days with the Universal title. But it would be sending a message if Roman Reigns was going to say that I beat a certain someone's record when he surpasses 434 days.
Yeah, and then also in the lead up to the WrestleMania feud, he can pass the 500 days that Brock Lesnar's got and say, I'm a better champion than you. I've gone past this. Do you know what I mean? This writes itself, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But anyway, the good thing about it is, as we've just seen there's a lot to talk about it, and I know some people are going, ooh, maybe Brock versus Roman's not the best way to go, but as we've just proved there, there's a lot of stories to be told there, and I think as long as they get the stories right, it'll be a good feud.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Reigns and Lesnar has always been a good match, but for a feud, this is a fresh iteration of it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okie doke. So we'll move on now to Becky Lynch takes shot at Ronda Rousey. So Becky Lynch made her long-awaited return at WWE SummerSlam this year and shocked the pro wrestling world by squashing WWE SmackDown champion Bianca Belair. Becky won the title in 26 seconds, and on the following week SmackDown, she turned heel in the process. She adopted a new persona and is now big-time Bex, or Big Arm Bex, whatever you look. Lynch and Rousey are no strangers to each other. They are the first women to main evented WWE WrestleMania alongside Charlotte Flair, and there's still a rivalry that sort of still hasn't run its course yet. We might get that revisited. And Becky takes a shot at Ronda and says, don't return to WWE. Don't know whether it's kayfabe or whatever. Becky Lynch was asked if she had any advice for Ronda Rousey, who also gave birth back in September. Becky Lynch advised Ronda Rousey to never return to the WWE. Don't come back because I'm still on top, Ronda. You won't like it. That's my advice. Yeah, okay. Now, Ronda's contract expired earlier this year, and she didn't re-sign with the company, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with this. I think Ronda will come back. I think it's an easy payday for her. I think also the fact that she brings a lot of eyes to the company. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's still unpacked between Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch. And I feel like with Charlotte being inserted to the triple threat at WrestleMania 35, we need a one-on-one between Becky and Ronda. And definitely, Ronda's going to return to WWE. There's a lot of money involved. She's a pretty good professional wrestler because she was a pretty good heel as well. And she can go in the ring. So definitely, it is a big money match that you can have, and WWE won't leave money on the table. So Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, I can definitely see that happening within the next year, but not right now, not for this WrestleMania.
No, I think it's going to be Hollywood again, to be honest with you. I think Rousey will look at it and go, The Rock's on that card, and, she'll probably want to be part of that as well if she was going to be part of anyone. Too. Oh, yeah, and obviously because I'm there, do you know what I mean? Obviously she'll be like, I need to come and see the big Don, don't I? I don't mind. I'll let her put me in an armbar, mate. I don't mind at all.
Well,
I won't even tap.
Those are weird kinks. But yeah, I definitely see her returning. And the card for WrestleMania LA seems to be building up like potentially a quite big card. And I feel like it's going to be a WrestleMania for the ages, much like WrestleMania 18 or a WrestleMania 30. It's going to be a pretty big card. And I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be, mate. I think it's, the whole stage is set for it, isn't it? And,
I feel like the year after 39 is probably where we're going to see The Rock for the last time. We see Ronda in there, in 2 years' time, you're probably going to be saying goodbye to Edge or near enough saying goodbye to Edge in his in-ring career.
Cena as well.
Cena, yeah, potentially as well. Cena will probably come back because, Rock and Cena are both Hollywood. So, in a brand new stadium, in the Sochi Stadium as well. And then,
Do you reckon that
in,
they go for Rock versus Reigns at Survivor Series and then go Rock versus Cena at Mania?
No. They've already done the Cena Rock thing. That won't happen again.
Yeah, but 10 years later, because their last match was just May 29.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I think that's being done now. I think it's definitely Reigns' time to have the rub of the green on the biggest stage of them all with The Rock. And I think Cena, potentially, we could see Cena versus Edge.
Yes, Edge needs to turn heel. Edge is a pretty good heel.
Yeah.
A pretty good babyface as well, but an amazing heel. Yeah. So
we may see Finn Balor versus Cena. What happened?
Yeah, kind of hinted that's something that needs to be revisited.
Yeah,
But
and then after WrestleMania 39, that could be like the kind of the last in the generation, and then WrestleMania 40 potentially you could have the likes of
like WrestleMania 28, an end of an era, but they still kept on wrestling.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean. You've got like Gable Stevenson, Braun Breaker. Oh God, what's the other lad called? The big lads off NXT.
Von Wagner.
Yeah, all people like that coming through, and what you've already got as well, and whoever else they've got at that point. So WrestleMania 40 could be the reset, the new generation again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we might finally see.
1.
Yeah, WrestleMania 40 is going to be the night when Tony D'Angelo lifts up the Universal Championship. Yeah,
let's do it. But yeah, I think 39 will be kind of for me, it's like the changing of the guards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Next on our agenda, Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, returning to the squared circle soon. Excited for this one, me, my man. Bray Wyatt got released by WWE, and since fans were speculating that he will make his debut in All Elite Wrestling, we are already witnessing some of the most of the releases before WWE stars. So we've seen Brian Danielson, rather. We've seen Ruby Riott, Adam Cole, Malachi Black. There's a lot of them that have popped up, obviously, once the non-competes have expired, etc. Now, recently, Wyatt posted a picture of the feeds on his Instagram with the caption, "Don't worry, it's a clear tease from Wyatt that he's now looking to return sooner rather than later." And it says, "Don't worry, I'll feed the birds." Now, in his 90-day non-compete clause will be over at the end of October, and then they have plenty of time to debut on AEW's next big pay-per-view, Full Gear. Reports are also suggesting that Impact Wrestling has been chasing Wyatt to get a hold of him, and Strowman teased the same as well. We might see the Cult of Wyndham appear at Impact Wrestling or AEW. What's your thoughts on that? I personally want to see him in Impact, if I'm being totally honest.
No. I feel like we've talked about and gone over the discussion of AEW's roster being saturated, but who is he going to face in Impact? Like, regardless of the Forbidden Door stuff, is there anyone truly on his caliber? No offense to the Impact stars, obviously, amazing talent. But Bray Wyatt, top merch seller in WWE, right? One of the best characters of the past 10 years, for me at least, because his character had depth. And he's showing up on a show which is not the show that is crossing 1 million viewers consistently.
Okay,
right?
They're not. Right, I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna give you a bit of a flip on this, right? So yeah, they're not getting the numbers yet. Bray Wyatt could bring that up. Who was the Fiend? Who was the best foe for the Fiends in WWE? Best opponent?
Cena.
Okay, yeah, all right, fair dues, maybe, but that was just John Cena. It still wasn't as good as it could have been. Now, if Wyndham goes to Impact, I believe not only can he make a character that is going to be great and awesome, but I also believe he will be given the creative freedom to create characters to go for him to feud with, and that way give the full scope of the story that he's trying to tell. Because, at the end of the day, if there's no Joker, there's no Batman. Do you know what I mean?
But if there's no audience, there's no Batman.
But the thing is, if he's given, why won't the audience come and watch him?
Well, here's the thing. When Jay White, one of my favorite professional wrestlers currently going, showed up in Impact, I watched one episode of Impact. And despite the fact that Jay White was showing up there every week, I stopped watching Impact. So the thing is that...
But if you take Bray Wyatt there and you give him a piece of the pie in Impact and don't just take him on as a talent, you give him some kind of creative rights, but also give him, maybe a slice of the profits or a slice of the company, and his creative mind working alongside what he's doing and what he's trying to build, and also building other stars and stuff like that. Why couldn't he? At the end of the day, when Hulk Hogan rolled in from AWA, does anyone think Hulk Hogan would draw like he did?
No. But the thing I can't wrap my head around is because White has hinted, because there was this story that came out a few weeks ago, Seth Rollins saying that he wanted to strangle Vince McMahon after he came out of the Hell in a Cell match. And Wyatt tweeted something along the lines of that, wait till you hear my side of the story, or something like that. So I feel like he is the guy who wants to give that big FU to WWE or Vince McMahon, because how he's been mistreated. And for him to go and do that on a show that isn't AEW, right? Because AEW is the right platform for him to do that. I don't think he might go there. But I understand your point.
Okay, and the other thing I'm going to say to you is, if he went to Impact, right, and he turns Impact from what it is now, and really turns it up there where fans were tuning in, fans were doing it, and he could really stick it to WWE and go, look how creative I am, look what I've done here. I haven't gone into a ready-made company that's at the top of the shop, but I've made this company credible. I've gone in with my creative mind. When I've been let loose to do what I want, look what I can do.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting idea.
As I say, I'm not saying that he won't end up in AEW, and potentially he will do, but you've got to look at it from the other side, of the coin.
I just want him to end up in AEW because there's just the best feud possible existing for him there. Do you know what that is?
Go on. Darby.
It's Bray Wyatt versus Eddie Kingston. It's the greatest feud that has the potential to happen. So yeah, that's what they're building for.
Well, as Vince Russo said on our interview last week, Eddie Kingston needs to go and get a wash before he wrestles anyone. I totally agree. What a guy Vince is. Okay, but yeah, as I say, we're going to see what's going to happen with him. But in all seriousness, I feel like him going to AEW, I feel like he's going to end up with the Dark Order, and I feel like that's going to hinder him. Unless he maybe changes the Dark Order's name, whatever else, I don't know. But, there's opportunity for him wherever he goes, I suppose. Right. So, top AEW stars contract expiring soon, okay? So, obviously, AEW signed like Punk, Malachi Black, Andrade, but they have some contracts expiring from some of the earlier talent that they had. A lot of key deals will be up in 2022, according to Uncle Dave. An extension for that long for a talent who is not young tells you they're pretty confident in committing to a long-term future. Okay? So some of the names who contracts are up very soon. It's very interesting. You've got the Young Bucks, which obviously they're going to sign because they're VPs or whatever they are. Hangman Adam Page, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and MJF. Most of these names are re-signing contracts with the company, sure, except one guy, and that's MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who's been teasing some time that he is pretty interested in going to WWE. So he might be the first one to jump from AEW to WWE. Very interesting. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, interesting. I don't see him going to WWE. MJF is a smart human being, is a smart wrestler, and even smarter person. And if you see the potential for a guy like MJF in WWE, you had guys like EC3, you had The Miz. Because here's the thing, Miz gets a lot of flack for what he's doing on screen right now. But when he's unhinged, when he's uncuffed by creative, he produces magic, and he might probably be even better than MJF, but only when he does promos like when he's in the ring with Roman Reigns talking about Intercontinental Championship run, or he's talking smack going on against Daniel Bryan. Those are amazing Miz moments, but if a guy like MJF goes there, do you think he can really show his potential? Because MJF is that guy who kind of produces those edgy, more slightly TV-14 or content catered towards that sort of audience, which is present in AEW. And he kind of has that golden ticket over there because you can see that they're priming him up to become a big deal. He's only had 2 losses, right? And none of them were clean. One against Chris Jericho, the second against John Moxley. Both are former AEW World Champions. So he's one of the most protected guys on the roster. I don't see him jumping ship.
No, but at the same time, if you're Vince McMahon and you are looking at these, you know, as AEW is a credible threat, and you look at MJF being one of their ones for the future, would you throw some money at him? And also, on top of that, would you keep the MJF character and have him as the MJF character and debut him as MJF in WWE?
Yeah, definitely I'd throw money at him, but like the idea for EC3, if you look at his stuff in Impact, right, was kind of the idea was picked up and tried to put to NXT as well. But then he got lost in the shuffle because WWE has guys like that who can do stuff like that. They have guys like MJF, like the prototype. They have guys who are snarky heels, but MJF is something special because first of all, he's young, he's outstanding in the ring, and his promo game is on another level. But here's how WWE might perceive him: as just another Miz or just another what EC3 was supposed to be, right? Because even though they might keep the MJF character there, they're going to dilute it to cater to what their audience is, a PG-13 audience, and that might lose a certain touch that MJF has.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I still think that Chris Jericho will be the first one to jump ship.
Yeah, a plausible human being, a plausible option.
I really do see him being the first one that pops over. I think that once he's done with AEW, he'll pop back to WWE. Hall of Fame induction later, and we're ready to go, aren't we?
Yeah, Hall of Fame. Yeah, let's do this.
Okie doke. So, our last news, obviously, you know, it's not being a great week. Bravo to our editor, Alex, who put this together because the news wasn't very good at all. So, his blood out of a stone comes to mind. And with that, the Bloodline. So, the Bloodline is the topmost heel faction in the WWE, ruling the blue bland of Smackdown. Universal Champion Roman Reigns and WWE Smackdown Champions Jimmy and Jey Uso, along with Paul Heyman, are a treat to watch every week on SmackDown, which they really are. Now, rumours have been circulating a very long time. They're adding additional female star into the faction. Now, Heyman gives a hint about this, and pretty interesting. While speaking to Rick Ucchino.
My guy from Sportskeeda. Shout out to you, Rick, if you're watching this.
Hey, Rick, what's happening? Paul Heyman recently teased Naomi possible inclusion in the Bloodline alongside Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Heyman. Naomi is the way for Jimmy Uso, so that makes the connection make sense. Just the one thing for Rick. Rick, your podcast is useless on Sportskeeda. If you need any help, come over and see the WrestleBuddy guys. Look at him, company man. Oh, shut up, company man.
He's great. I watch his podcast every week. I really enjoy it.
Show me your tongue.
I really do.
Show me your tongue.
I really do.
It's black. Look at him. He can't even say that properly through gritted teeth.
Well, I genuinely enjoy the Sportskeeda Wrestling podcast.
Company meth. But anyway, if you need any help off the WrestleBuddies, come and give us a shout, guys. So, according to Paul Heyman, how do you know she's not already at the table? Because it's not on television. We're on television 2 hours a week. That leaves a lot of time for the rest of the week. There are imaginations and maneuvers and negotiations and strategies and things happening that you don't see on television. How do you know she's already not at the table? Now, fans are already unhappy with Naomi's position in the blue brand on SmackDown and would look. SmackDown already have some big names such as Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, which they don't have anymore because they're going over to Raw. But they do have the likes of Bianca Belair and Charlotte now as well. So it'd be interesting to see if Naomi got in with the Bloodline storyline, how that could progress. Hey, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because it was the writing on the wall, right? Naomi was set to join the Bloodline ever since she was drafted to SmackDown. But I really see her becoming the Roman Reigns of the women's division, for the lack of a better term. Because if she is booked right, she can breathe new life into the women's division. And while we're seeing this kind of a stronghold of the four horsewomen, and now Bianca's slightly moving into the top title picture now, if hopefully Naomi's gonna be there. There's Rhea Ripley. There's all these new names that are slowly creeping up into the filling out the top positions in the women's division. It's really interesting to me to see that they could possibly uh, build Naomi as a true dominant heel at the top of the roster who runs through everyone, much like Roman Reigns, and having her in the bloodline could only do her benefits because even though she talks good, having Paul Heyman by her side could do wonders as well.
Yeah, and I think the bloodline's going to grow as time goes on. You know, you've got Young Uso in NXT there. If he starts doing some good things there, then, you know, potentially he could join the bloodline. And then you've also got, as we said before, The Rock's daughter.
Yeah.
Who's there. You know, she's Simone Johnson. She could pop into the bloodline at some potential point, and that'll give her a nice rubber degree. I think she'd be a good part of the storyline leading up to the Rock and Reigns WrestleMania match at WrestleMania Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely, because everything here with the bloodline is building to that eventual match between The Rock and Roman Reigns.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and even when Roman Reigns started this bloodline stuff, like, it's gonna be one of the biggest matches of the past decade or so in WWE, even more, because this has been built up, like, and people complain all the time that WWE doesn't do long-term storytelling. Well, this is long-term storytelling. We're witnessing the build-up for Rock versus Roman Reigns whenever that happens. But it's so interesting. Roman Reigns comes out every weekend, says he's the tribal chief, and this storyline is screaming to our face, like, this is going to happen. You're witnessing a story being built. Appreciate it. Look into the hints. Catch what you can. Catch what you can while you can, because Rock's gonna return soon, and then they're gonna feud, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is, the good thing at the moment is what you really like is whenever Reigns has a big feud. So, like, now he's with Lesnar, or before Lesnar it was Cena. The bloodline storyline takes a back seat because, like, okay, well, we'll deal with this later on. I've got to focus on Cena, or no, let's put that to the back now. I've got to deal with Brock Lesnar, and that's what I kind of like about this storyline is, especially with the bloodline, what you can push them back a little bit, but then go and revisit it again.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many storylines, and there's so many characters that are being elevated through this, that I think this is the best thing going in wrestling right now, right next to Hangman versus Omega, because I'm a sucker for long-term storytelling. So yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah, I'm the same. I like Hangman Omega, and hopefully Hangman wins that. But that is our weekly roundup, guys. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the week of wrestling, and if there's anything that you'd like to discuss with us. We're always happy to, very active in the comment section, as you'll see on all our videos. We're always commenting back, and we like to interact with you all. So please do leave us some comments and thoughts on that. But guys, from me and Zane, until next time, we will see you again, same place, same time next week. Take care, WrestleBuddies. Bye for now.